On today's episode, we'll be talking about my continued progress on my Emma top, a new weaving project, as well as some spinning. Hey everyone, I'm Marina and this is Pineapple Knits. This is my channel dedicated to knitting, spinning, and weaving. You can connect with me on social media at Pineapple Yarn, and you can connect with me on my website at pineappleyarn.com. Thank you so much for joining me again this week, and if this is your first time viewing the channel, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. I'm coming to you today from coastal South Carolina. It's a beautiful summer day. It's just been absolutely amazing weather. Very unusually temperate weather. Normally it's very warm and very humid down here, but the past couple of days we've had cloudy, cooler weather, and we've had a couple of days where it hasn't even reached 80 degrees. It's been 79 degrees, which is very unusual, but I think today the heat's coming back. It's really, really beautiful and sunny. So we'll be enjoying that, going to the beach and doing some outdoor things today. But before we get started, I'd like to share what I have on the mannequin this week. I have my Odyssey shawl, which is it's a wonderful pattern by Joji Locatelli, and it uses DK weight yarn. So it's great for winter, great for a really, a quicker knit than a fingering weight yarn. And it's super snuggly for winter. But I use 3 of my colors here. I used Sights on Summer, Pacific Dreams, and Sunspot. And it really just is a beautiful fade. It really suits this shawl wonderfully. I think it's absolutely beautiful. But this shawl gets so much wear out of all the shawls I've made. It definitely is one of my favorites. Since I'm recording this morning, I am drinking some coffee. It's a must. I'm also burning my Royal Palm candle behind me here. This is an amazing scent. It's so summery, and if you love really summery scents, it has a hint of coconut, but a lot of florals and greens. It's a really wonderful, definitely one of my favorites. I may have some in the shop right now. If not, I definitely need to restock them because it's a beautiful scent. I almost forgot, I'm also wearing these earrings that my daughter made. I will link her shop below. She is 14 and she has her own jewelry shop on Etsy. So if you want to see what my oldest has been up to, I will link it below in case you're interested in checking that out. But she made these earrings for me, and I don't wear large jewelry a lot because I have littles, and my little boy, he's 3 years old, and he likes to pull at my earrings. So for years I haven't worn jewelry like this, only because it's just, yeah, the littles, they love to pull on the jewelry. But I am wearing it today to film, and they're just so fun and vibrant. So I will link her shop below in case you're interested. I'm continuing to knit on my Emma top number 2. I have been working on this for quite a while, it feels like to me. And I'm still on either the front or the back. I'm on the second half. The front and the back are interchangeable. So I am working on that, and this is where I'm at so far. So I have made a good amount of progress on this second half. I think the last time I showed you, I'd only done maybe 1.5 inches of the bottom, which is past the side slits. So that's where I'm at. And if you see this marker right here, that's what I knit last night. And I knit for maybe, I don't know, I don't think it was even an hour last night that I knit. And I got that far. So if I just am diligent and I do a little bit every day, I will get done with this very quickly. And I have the luxury of having done the first half already, so I know that once I get past this section, the section that is just the kind of endless rows of stockinette, even though this isn't stockinette. It's the endless rows of half brioche rib. But once I get past this portion, it's very fast actually. So it's really, really not that bad. But I'm using Chiaogu needles. I believe these are a size 3. I'm pretty sure. Yes, they're a 3.25 millimeter. They've been working out great for this yarn because this yarn is a little bit slippery. I would have preferred to use my Addies, but for some reason, maybe I couldn't find the size 3 fixed needles. I'm not really sure. Anyway, this yarn is Bamboo Pop in the color Winter Squash, and I think it's going to be absolutely fabulous for autumn, and it's really great too if you live somewhere where you have the autumnal heat. So I love wearing fall inspired colors in the fall, but I can't wear sweaters because it is definitely not sweater weather in South Carolina in the fall. So this is going to make up for that, and but I just wanted to keep you updated on that progress. Hopefully I'll have more next week when I record, because I don't have a lot of exciting news on this week. This yarn is Bamboo Pop by Universal Yarns, and you can see how it's a little bit marled. It's half cotton and half bamboo. So it's just a really wonderful warm weather yarn. I really, really love this yarn. And I would say it's on the thin side for a DK. So what I did is I actually just sized up a size in the pattern I'm knitting, the second size. My next project that I finished up this week, well, I'm nearly finished. I finished spinning and plied up my Hedgehog Fibers Fiber Club. This is from their monthly subscription. You can subscribe in 3-month intervals. And this is from July 2020. And it's a beautiful merino and sparkle blend. As you can see, this turned out to be a really gorgeous, super sparkly 2-ply barber pole, and I just love how that turned out. I haven't measured the wraps per inch or anything like that, but I expect that this will plump up somewhat when I skein it up, when I soak it, and it will probably end up being a worsted to a bulky weight, which is what I was aiming for. I believe I was aiming for that. I think. But I imagine this will be just a really beautiful beanie for the winter. I think this is going to be just super fun, and I don't have a ton of fiber in my stash or hand spun yarn that has this much sparkle in it. This is probably I think it's almost like a holographic Angelina, and so it's not the softest, and I think that I really can't imagine this being in a project because I just don't have a lot of yarn with sparkle in it. So even though I love it, don't get me wrong, oh, I love the sparkle. I love the sparkle. But a lot of small fiber purveyors don't have a lot of sparkle fiber in their shops. It is expensive. I know for me, when I have a beautiful custom blend that I love to dye and I need to restock in my shop, but custom blending fiber to have this sparkle in it, it is expensive. So I can imagine that it's kind of a specialty fiber, but I was thrilled when I opened this last year and saw how sparkly it was. I was very, very excited. But all in all, this was a good spin. I was very conscientious of how much twist I was putting in the singles, because when you have this much sparkle, kind of this synthetic fiber, it can really get ropey really fast and just really stiff. And so I put in it was a very, very low twist single. And then I plied it at about I would say it's maybe at like a 35 to 40 degree angle. Hopefully that will translate into just kind of a nice bouncy, soft yarn, even though it does have that much Angelina in it. I thought it turned out really pretty. I think this was, I haven't even weighed this. I have no stats on this right now, but I think this is probably going to be about 115 grams. And so this really will translate to be a ton of yarn for accessories. And I don't know, I think it's going to be really, really beautiful though. I'd love to make some beanies out of this, like I said. We'll see what happens, but that's kind of when I spun it and I wanted it to be kind of a chunkier weight, that's kind of what I was envisioning. So that's done. And yeah, it was really fun to spin. I spun this on my electric eel wheel. Again, it's just been my wheel of choice lately. I have found it's very difficult to find time to sit down at my Kromski minstrel. I put it into my bedroom to keep it safe from my son, who is he's getting to be a little strong and destructive, and he loves wheels and pulleys. And I mean, I don't blame him. Spinning wheels are fabulous, but yeah, I don't want him to break it. So the electric eel wheel is perfect to pull out in the evenings after he's gone to bed and do a little quick spinning. So I started a new project this week, and that has really been the center of my focus. As you can maybe see behind me, my shelf is completely clear. I used to have last year's Hedgehog Fibres Advent Calendar out on display just for inspiration, because I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. As many of you know, if you've purchased an Advent calendar from any dyer, you will know there is a ton of yarn in these calendars. There really is, especially if you have a fingering weight. And so I knew I wasn't feeling a knitted project, I didn't think. The more time I spent with it and the more I looked at it, it wasn't dyed in any kind of gradient or order. And so for me, I just really wanted to use it as a warp. And so that's what I did. I took some time to warp up my loom this past week. And if you follow me on Instagram, I'm actually going to put a story highlight with all of my stories from the past week showing some progress on my warping. So definitely check that out. But it was so fun to warp up. So what I did is, I think this is the easiest way too when you have a lot of minis. So they are in hanks, large loops. And what I do is I just put them on a Swift. And so I don't cake them up. I don't do any kind of preparation except putting them on a Swift. And then I actually warp up the loom using the direct warping method straight from the Swift. And so I don't have to cake up 24 minis. It's super fast. And one thing I did do, because I did for my Pineapple Yarn Advent Calendar last year, I did do a weaving project. But the thing that I did differently this year with the Hedgehog Fibres Advent Calendar is I actually did a double warp. And so I used an 8 DPI heddle, which basically means there's 8 sections, 8 slots or 8 eyes and slots per inch. And normally that would create a very loose, very, very loose drapey fabric if you're using a fingering weight yarn. But what I did is I doubled up the warp. So for every eye and every slot, there were 2 strands of yarn going through. And what that resulted in is basically a DK weight warp. If you were going to warp it up, it'd be like a DK weight warp. The other thing I did is because I really wanted that warp to shine, and so I didn't use a balanced weft. And so I didn't use a DK weight yarn. I didn't do fingering weight held double. I actually am only using a single strand of fingering weight yarn. And I decided to go with an undyed fingering weight yarn to just kind of tone down the colors, kind of blend them a little more. And that allows the warp to really shine, but also creates kind of a cohesive look throughout. And I am loving how it's turned out. The weaving itself is going by very quickly because it is a thicker warp. But also I'm using my Leclerc boat shuttle, and it's a plastic shuttle. Normally you wouldn't use a boat shuttle on a rigid huddle loom, but I have found that using this plastic boat shuttle has worked really well. And I use it with my dish towels. That works really well. And then also a project like this, I love using that boat shuttle. So I will link all of the items that I'm using here below. And so far it's been a really great project. I'm going to, I guess I should say what it's going to end up being. I intend it to be a huge table runner. It's going to be very large when it's finished. I can't remember all the stats off the top of my head. Each mini ended up being about nine double strands per mini. That's how many I got out. And I started from the middle and worked outward so I could actually just see how wide it was going to be. I didn't start at the outsides and kind of work my way in. I found that that's a really effective method if I'm just not sure how wide I want to make something or how far I can make certain yarns stretch. So that's how I warped up the loom on that. But it's been a really great project, and I've found that I can do at one sitting, I can use about one bobbin of the weft yarn per sitting. per weaving session. And that's kind of my goal, is just to sit down and weave with an entire bobbin of yarn, and that kind of limits me, and then I'm able to get up and stretch and do other things. So I mean, if I could choose, I would sit down and weave for hours and hours, but that's not good for my body, and it's I have 5 children. That's not going to happen. So but it's been really fun. It's been a great project. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I'm in love with it. And every time I sit down with a weaving project, I fall more in love with weaving. It's just an amazing craft. And I'm always so excited to start weaving a project, because it always just kind of blossoms into this project, this item that I could have never imagined would be so beautiful and interesting. So that's been a really fun project, and I would encourage you, if you have access to a loom or if you're interested in diving into weaving, it is so great if you have a sizable yarn stash and you're not sure what to do with all the yarn. Yeah, weaving uses a lot of yarn, and you can really make some amazing projects. And woven yarn looks so different than knitted up or crocheted. It's really just so interesting and beautiful. So I would encourage you, if you're new, you haven't woven before, if you've ever wanted to take the dive, a rigid huddle loom is a great place to start, and it's a really, really great craft. So that is all that has been going on here this week. As far as shop news, I am dyeing up clubs this week. They will be shipped out by August 10th, so look for those shipping notifications in your email. But yeah, I'm hustling getting those done this week. Yeah, they're really beautiful this month. I do have September's pre-orders up in the shop right now in case you're interested. And also I have a very few SEABREEZE Advent Calendar pre-orders up in the shop right now as well. I anticipate those will be sold out very soon. So if you are interested, this will be the last time that I will have these available this year. So definitely check those out. I have a choice of sock weight or a DK weight, which is so cool. I've had so many customers tell me they're very cool ideas for their projects. I know I have one customer who plans on doing a sweater with her DK weight minis. I think that's so cool. It will be a gradient, so the sweater is going to be absolutely fabulous. I can't even imagine. It's going to be gorgeous. But anyway, check those out in case you're interested. And yeah, this weekend I'm sure I will be at the beach. We're still working on a bathroom remodel. I think I told you about that last year. We were working on a bathroom remodel, but we are getting there. We're to the paint phase. So I may be painting this weekend. And yeah, going to the beach and working on some crafting, of course. Thank you so much for joining me this week. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love if you give it a thumbs up. And I will see you next week with another episode. I hope you're having so much fun with your crafting. And until next week, I hope you have an awesome day. Bye.